Hello, my name is Amanda and welcome to another solution selling panel video. Today I am joined by Aaron from Verizon, John from Expedient, and Mark from TPX. Thank you all for joining us today. Before we get started, can each of you introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'll start. Thank you, Amanda. I would first like to thank everybody for attending this call. My name is Mark Blanchard and I'm the Senior Director for National Partner Development with TPX. Right now is a really exciting time at TPX because of the momentum we've gained with managed services, in particular managed security services. So very happy to be on this call and looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Mark. Aaron, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hello, AppSmart. Thank you also for having me attending this session. My name is Erin Thompson. I am a managing partner. I support our what we call small medium business, our Verizon business group for the mountain region. So just think of a nice swath from your Pacific Northwest all the way down to the Southwest in Arizona, New Mexico. And I also collaborate with our wireless counterparts and our VEZ enterprise team as well. Thank you for having me and exciting to share Verizon with you today.
Thank you for joining, Aaron. And last but certainly not least, John, I'd love to have you introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda, and thanks again for having us. Excited to talk to all the AppSmart people out there. I'm John McKenna, and I'm responsible for our channel program here at Expedient. And we've got a team of great partner managers across the country. And what we're focused on is primarily cloud computing. So think infrastructure as a service for those workloads that run on VMware and databases and all kinds of stuff. So we'll get into it a little bit more, but that's what we're focused on at Expedient.
Yeah, that's actually a great segue because I'd love to hear a little bit more from each of you. What is the primary solution you want advisors to think of you for? Where are you unbeatable? Mark, if you could, answer this first for us, where is TPX unbeatable?
Well, I think most of it's due to our large breadth of products in our catalog. It really comes down to multi-site, multi-product. So thanks for the question. So I would say where we are unbeatable really is around our large breadth of services and products. And so when you're talking to a customer that needs multi-products and multi-sites, that's where we really knock it out of the park and win, from having selling SD-WAN solutions and layering on Office 365, UCAS services, and our security services. So really, when you have a customer that needs that one-stop shop, one place to go for a multi-solution, multi-product, multi-location, that's us.
Awesome. Aaron, can you also add to that? I know Verizon's a huge name. Everybody knows Verizon. What do you want our advisors to think of Verizon for?
Yeah, so one of the first questions I always ask when I'm meeting with advisors and customers is, what do you think of Verizon? And people always, I know it's going to block it out, it's my cell phone, right? They think of our wireless aspect. And we are so much more than that. That's definitely our bread and butter. But when I think about we're unbeatable, it is the reliability of our services and our network. So that's going to be both on the wireline side of the house and also with the wireless side of the house, which we are now integrating with. We're Verizon, we're big, and sometimes that doesn't help us out as far as people's confidence because they think we're too big. And but what I would counter that with is that we can also do end-to-end, holistic, all-encompassing solutions. We have lots of bundles. We can do voice. We can do security. We can do wireless. We can do SD-WAN. So there is just a lot from holistically the big picture down to the products and the solutions. If I really want to get granular, something that a lot of people don't know about Verizon is that we have a solution called IP Contact Center. What that does is it integrates our network with the PSTN specifically for toll-free solutions that we then are productized with NICE and Contact. And so it is a all around something that we can offer because we are the phone company, both on the network side and on the voice side. So everyone's talking about UC and call centers are part of that. Definitely don't forget about our IP Contact Center.
Awesome. And John, you already spoke to it a little bit, saying Expedient, primarily is cloud computing. What else would you add to that? Where is Expedient unbeatable?
Yeah, so the cloud computing, just to be clear, includes everything from production, compute, and storage for your workloads to backup as a service, DR as a service, virtual desktop or VDI as a service, and those are all areas that clients certainly have a lot of options on. I think where we're unbeatable is we take a little bit different approach. First of all, you're going to hear your clients say, "Oh, I already use AWS or Azure for cloud." The reality is they're not moving all of their workloads there. And we approach a client to make sure we understand what's the right workload to go to the right cloud based on the nature of that application and how it runs, cost and performance and all that other stuff. So we're a full stack cloud service provider, meaning we're going to look across the entire spectrum, and know that when you move services over to us, our net promoter score is a 72, which is virtually unheard of from a service provider perspective, and we've averaged less than 1% churn of our client base over the last 10 years. So that customer experience, which I think people kind of assume it's going to be good, and it maybe doesn't always come up as a top criteria, but as a trusted advisor, know that when you're bringing us in, our customers have a tremendous experience, and we typically expand pretty significantly once we get in there with one of those point solutions, as opposed to just coming in and doing everything at the start.
Yeah, well, and thank you all for, speaking more to where you're unbeatable, what you want people to think of you for. I'd love to kind of dive deeper into, John, you had mentioned once you're in the door, you're great at customer service. Getting to the door, what sales best practices have you seen some of these advisors use with their end user clients that you wish others would duplicate? John, I'll let you go first here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So I would tell you that if you look at your typical partner, trusted advisor, you've maybe dealt in the network telecom space, and you've developed very strong relationships. So maybe you've helped them with their CCAS and strategic initiatives like that. What the client is not getting very much, where we've seen the trusted advisors help, is giving them an alternative option of how to get the majority of their infrastructure. They're still buying from their VARs. So, you think like you're not participating in that core infrastructure conversation if you're not reselling the hardware and software. So coming in and saying like, look, there's a whole nother way for you to get to the cloud quickly and easily by lifting and optimizing, which is then going to free up the resources of your team to start accelerating some of those other strategic initiatives. So just the partners that have the confidence to go in and talk high level, saying, look, I know you haven't moved everything to the cloud. Why is that? Well, these applications just don't, they don't move easily. And if we don't spend a lot of money to refactor them, it's going to cost us more money to run them there. So we've just been keep it in place. We really don't have an answer. So, trusted advisors that will, ask those questions high level, and then, allow somebody like us or Verizon or whoever to come in and bring our solution architects in and help understand what the client has and what their goals are, and then start making recommendations of how we can help them accelerate that digital transformation.
Yeah, no, definitely. Mark, I'd love to know, do you have anything else that you'd love to add to that? Other great sales best practices that you've seen?
Yeah, piggybacking on what John said, I think it's really important as the solutions advisor to sit in that role and really focus in on outcomes as opposed to selling a product. And I think when you focus on the outcomes, peel back the onion, ask the questions, you're really going to dive into a number of issues that they're facing that you can solve. And to John's point, we face the same thing where they're buying certain products, whether it's Office 365, whether it's cybersecurity, from a VAR relationship. So as a national MSP, we've got a full product set that we can provide to customers. And it's really critical too, to bring in resources in areas that maybe you're not comfortable. I know that AppSmart has a great solutions engineering team, as does TPX. And so bringing in those individuals earlier rather than later can really help set the stage well for you to provide the right solution at the right time for the customer.
Definitely. Yeah. Take advantage of all those amazing resources that we've got. I know everybody wants to help. Aaron, I'd love to hear too from you on this. What have you seen out there? What best practices would you wish other advisors would duplicate?
When I look at the different relationships we have with our technology advisors, it really does come down to that. In our partner community, our agent community, people buy from people. And the relationships that I have seen built is built upon trust, right? There is a investment in the AppSmart advisors with their end user clients. And that's really the building blocks, is enable to have those conversations where, maybe you're an expertise in something, but not in something else. You can go to and say, hey, here's this opportunity. You've helped me look at this and this, but maybe we haven't gone here. And then to the other point, my counterparts, like pulling in those resources, right? And making sure that our resources are technically aligned together. I think that there's a lot of unknowns in technology, and especially as we are still on this pathway of digital transformation and technology, being able to use each other again as those resources built upon that trust and integrity really is what I wish others and hope that others duplicate, because what we do, it is very personal, right? People say it's just business, and especially with the partner community, it's so much more than that.
I loved all of these suggestions that you guys shared, from investing in relationships, from using your resources, from asking the right questions. These are all great best practices that I think advisors out there really do need to just keep top of mind as they continue to engage with the end customer. Knowing that there are some advisors out there, as much as we, try not to make them do, they don't do these things. They don't use their resources. They don't ask the right questions. And a lot of the times misconceptions form because of that. So Erin, I'd love to know, is there a misconception that people have about Verizon, and how do you overcome that misconception?
Yeah, I love this question. It's one of my personal favorites that you're asking today, because it really is the elephant in the room when you think about Verizon, and that meaning, like, we're so big, and because we're so big, we are really hard to do business with. And I think in overcoming that conception, there is truth to it, which also lends back to why we are such a reliable company and what we're able to accomplish for our customers. In that it differentiates us because we have different, again, you're part little experts in each of these little different areas. And so not to be overwhelmed because of our bigness. Our bigness is a strength, but it's not our greatest strength. Best is our strength, because we are able to be reliable and, again, deliver on any myriad of different verticals or different technologies that we can share with our partners. I think the other thing is too is we're constantly growing and evolving, and so is everyone else, right? But how do we, again, take a step back and break it into smaller, more digestible pieces when we are approaching Verizon for an opportunity, and to not let that bigness scare us or stop us from engaging in a conversation. I think it's just most important to be brought to the table. And then again, to have those meaningful discovery questions, understanding the scope. Hey, where are we a fit? We're not always a fit somewhere. There's someone else, that's better at us in that capability. But how do we piece those together for the best end solution for our customers? And so, I think past performance speaks to certain, about what expectations are. But I would also say, don't be so stuck in the rearview mirror that you're looking behind you and not looking forward. And so that is something that Verizon does exceptionally well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. John, I'd love to hand the mic over to you. What misconception do people have out there about Expedient, and how do you overcome that misconception?
Yeah, it's a great question. A couple things as far as Expedient being misunderstood or the misconception is, in some of the markets that we're in, we've been providing co-location for 20 years plus. And, a lot of our existing markets, there's a belief by the IT community that all we do is colo. where in fact, 90% of our new sales are cloud. And yes, we operate 14 data centers across the country. Yeah, we certainly do offer co-location to complement our cloud. But the other big misconception is, that we compete with AWS and Azure. And, again, that's just really not the case. And, if you're a trusted advisor and you think of where UCaaS and CCaaS were 5 years ago, where, the hype cycle had been going on for a long time, people were talking about, but then the adoption began. We're really starting to see that on our side because, again, the hyperscale, the public cloud providers have been the hot topic, and people spend a ton of energy and effort and money getting there, and they're realizing that they're starting to peter out on what they can get there. So the analysts, Gartner's just released a study that they're calling this the end of the first chapter of cloud computing. So the public piece has been the first chapter. The next piece is going to be private cloud, and all of the other different options that complement what companies are doing, and that they see this as being a long-term roadmap where workloads that run on clouds like ours and our competitors are going to be around for a long time. So again, I'll just hit it again. When your customer says, "Oh, AWS is who we standardized on for cloud," that's probably true for those hyperscale workloads, but there's a ton of other environments that just haven't moved that are ripe to move to the cloud quickly.
But certainly not least, we've got Mark. I'd love to know TPX. What's a common misconception that people have, and how do you overcome it?
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on what John said because I can relate to the misconception around history. TPX has been in the business for about 25 years now. I think we're actually celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. And the misconception really depends on the partner themselves and the region that they're in. If you look at the West, in the Southwest, they probably know TPX's history as Pacific, and as a large CLEC in that space. And the company's really evolved into a national MSP, and it's a really exciting time to be here. And how we really address that misconception is just communicating with our partners what we are good at, what we can do, and what we can't do. And the nice thing about right now is we're so flexible with our solution as a national MSP, and our target is really on the SMB side of the house, not at the enterprise level, which has really forced us to be very flexible in our approach because we're competing less than maybe some of the large national providers like Expedient, and more with some of the local MSPs that some of the partners are used to working with. And so we've really had to tailor our conversation based on the history that the partner has with TPX, and that could be based on the Pacific history. It could be based on an acquisition with the companies that we acquired over this time and our evolution towards being the national MSP focused on small, medium business.
Thank you. I love the theme here too, right? Like we have this conversation around asking questions, investing in the relationship, but also just not assuming information, not assuming based on the past, looking forward. And that goes back into our best practices of just always asking questions and always using your resources. So that is actually all the questions I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining me and having this amazing conversation with me. And thank you to all of our advisors for listening in. If you have any more questions, you now know 3 experts that you can reach out to. And we hope to join you again next time for another solution selling panel video.